It's happening.
Amazing. Okay. Welcome to our very first inaugural episode of Wednesday at One with Wood, which is me, Elle Wood. And I would love to welcome my very special guest today, Mr. Daniel Charlton Hamilton or Hamilton-Charlton.
Dan Hamilton-Charlton.
There
I
we
answer to
go.
all sorts of things though. So Elle, you can call me whatever you like.
You're so
Doesn't,
kind.
doesn't even have to be clean.
Well, that's just as well knowing me.
Good. So now we can all relax.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just chill out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you very kindly sent me over your ebook, which told me a little bit about digital property logbooks. But there are, I suspect, a huge number of people in the industry that are like me, that are a little bit techie, can get by, but actually they get a bit baffled quite quickly. So could you really break it down nice and simple for the Luddites among us and tell us a little bit about what it is, what it does, and why?
That's a really big question. I think if anyone hasn't listened to it yet, and it came out I think yesterday, or was it today even, but the Mark Worrell, Sam Hunter podcast, the World Class Agency podcast, and they had Simon Ledbetter on it. And if you haven't listened to it yet, then I would urge agents to go and listen to it, because Simon is an absolute guru when it comes to understanding the nature of the beast, understanding agents' habits, but more importantly, understanding the power of marketing messaging and how you can get it right and how you can get it wrong, and how the bias in the industry is all about reactive marketing. It's all about the bias towards, I've got to do something now that gives me an immediate return on investment, and all of that long-term brand awareness type stuff gets entirely forgotten. And brands have sort of changed their name to include the word nurture recently, and I think it is a new thing that people are thinking about this nurturing thing. So anyway, long story short, 20 years in a estate agency, and it wasn't until I got out of a estate agency they actually understood the beast that the business was, and I thought everyone was like me. Turns out they're not like me at all. And I started to learn really about the industry and how it fits. And now, of course, where we set up a business that deals directly with the consumer when it comes to ordering searches. And we start to engage with our clients. Now, how are you finding? What's the experience? If you could have done it better, would you have done? Were you aware you could have done this? No. There's a lot of ignorance that just plays out and adds to people's stresses when it comes to moving home. So we started to think about that and thought, do you know what? There is a bit that's missing, and thankfully there were a load of other like-minded businesses that thought about the ways in which you could start to think about delivering something to the homeowner that had value to them, but more importantly had value to them not necessarily at the point at which they're thinking of selling, but might have significant value to them just because they're a homeowner. All that stuff as a homeowner, once you've bought your property and the solicitor sends you that half a tree's worth of paperwork, and thankfully with my last move they actually sent it all digitally.
Oh, goodness.
But you put it somewhere, and all the while you're living in that property you can forget about it. You can completely ignore all that paperwork, and you might change your windows, or you might upgrade the boiler, you put solar panels on, or you do whatever it is to the property, and all of those things you do come with things that validify or give certainty to the fact you did it properly. And again, as the homeowner, you go, oh, I'll file that under recycling, or I'll just file that under whatever, and it gets forgotten about. And then you panic. And you panic at the point at which you go to sell your property and you think it's all great, and the agent's not advised you to go and find any of this stuff, and you go through the whole rigmarole of marketing a property and choosing an agent, all the rest of it, and then you get a sale agreed and suddenly everyone's screaming at you to find all this stuff that you thought you didn't need. So we thought, well, look, why doesn't every property have a logbook? Why doesn't every homeowner have access to an environment where they store everything pertinent to the history of their property? Every time they go and upgrade something, they put that evidence somewhere and store it. Now, if, like me, you like to be organised and you don't want to just put something in a safe place, and when you try and find it in 6 months' time, I know it's in a safe place, but you don't know where the safe place actually is. With a logbook, you kind of know that it's a safe place for your property stuff. So that was kind of where we came. And then we thought, right, let's think about agents. It's all very well us delivering something to the homeowner and the consumer that might have some value. But our whole call to action, our reason for setting up the business Property Searches Direct and our reason for engaging now with logbooks was not to massage our own egos. It was to try and deliver something that helped speed up property transactions and helped all my agency mates turn over their pipelines sooner and give some certainty to people. And logbooks seem to be a natural way in which that might help. But how can we make it more engaging for the estate agent? The answer was, if we can create a logbook that is really engaging to the homeowner. Now, I don't know about you, but I used to go on to Rightmove quite often and see what values were like and look at the comparables and see who's selling up the road and what the price is. And everyone's interested in price. We're good old British, and what do? We join queues, we talk about the weather, and we're really interested in property prices. So why not build a logbook that delivers market trends directly to the logbook owner? So when they think about, okay, no one's going to think about right now, I need a logbook because I want to get my property asset organised, but they might think, oh, but if I could find out the top 10 best-selling streets in my area, if I could find out the top 10 sales prices in my area, if I could find out what the market has done to the value of my own property, every time I log in, I find out what the value of my home might be and what the trends have done. That's kind of interesting. And if within that logbook environment is the agent's brand, what a great marketing tool. Suddenly you're getting away from, as Market would say, you're getting away from this response marketing to actually committing to this unrelenting commitment to service to your local marketplace. And, I get a leaflet through the door, are you thinking of selling? And it goes straight in recycling. One of the agents around here prints a business card that looks like they've actually written on it saying, we're really desperate for properties like yours. It goes straight in the recycling. And the way the market's gone, you think how many sales there were last year. Everyone that was going to sell probably sold. So there's a really small percentage of people that are actually going to react to that instant marketing. So what do you do with the other 98 or 99% of homeowners? Because if you're doing reactive marketing, it's all going in the bin. If you could deliver a different message that wasn't about knocking in those goals, it wasn't about selling, it was about your property asset, your fascination with property. Let us educate you about the things you can do to better organise your assets. Let's keep you informed about the property market. Let's give you something that you can have that reminds you when your buildings and contents insurance needs renewing, that reminds you when you might need to update your EPC. It does all this lovely stuff. It's really useful stuff. But every time you log in, you see my brand. Now, where does that put you as an agent? That suddenly puts you subliminally in the top 1, 2 or 3 brands that they are going to immediately think to consider engaging with, because they've had a relationship with you for 2 weeks, 3 months, 4 years, 10 years. And bearing in mind, what is it, the UK homeowner moves on average, was it every 23 years? Or was it 22 years on average? There's a long game to play there. So if you're always dealing with reactionary marketing, and it's this focus on transactions, then you're missing an awful lot of voice.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where we're at with the logbook. The logbook is, I talked for a long time there, Elle. I'm really sorry. That all made sense.
I think it made perfect sense to me. I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but do feel free to have a glass of water quickly. He's so prepared.
Ooh.
My question immediately is, what happens when they do move house? Because the logbook is computery. It's not an analog. It's not an analog filing.
Totally digital. Yeah.
So what happens if they move house? How does the branding maybe change because they've moved out of the area, or what happens if that business folds or gets
really good point.
acquisitioned?
So, again, there was something that Simon was saying about the 4-dimensional client, right? And listen to the podcast. But he was saying that anyone at any time can be a landlord, a buyer, a seller, and a tenant, all at the same time. Simon was at one point. So the thing to remember with a logbook is it is property specific. You are only the custodian of that logbook all the while you're living at that property. So the savvy agent is going to deliver a logbook to every property in their area because they're useful things to have. And the contents of that logbook. So if I'm thinking of selling, I go into my logbook and I'm presented with several options for the agent, but we've entirely digitized the BASB form, the buying and selling property information form. So what it enables someone to do is disclose all the material facts about their property, all the information about stuff they've done, and once they've completed all the various parts, it then says, right, based on what you've answered, this is the paperwork that you need to upload to the system. And once you've uploaded that stuff to the system, it scoops it all up into one zip folder, ready to be shared with whoever wants it. So the estate agent probably wants to see the material facts. The conveyancer probably wants to see that as the sales pack. So it can be immediately shared. The important thing is when the buyer comes along, the agent will say to that buyer, claim a logbook. And as you start to amass paperwork from your conveyancer, store it in your logbook, branded with the agent. And then at the point at which that property actually completes, because of the changes in the BASB form and the ways in which the conveyancers have to do, there needs to be now consent to sign over all digital assets, which is a really nice change that's happened. Of course, included in that will of course be logbook. So the owner will agree that they'll need to hand over that digital asset, which is the logbook, inside which is all the prehistory of the property and all the paperwork that's relevant, which will then be ported from the owner's logbook through to the new owner's logbook, which will become the one true source of fact about that property, and the previous logbook will be effectively expunged from the central register. The client can still have access to it and they can still have their photographs, all their personal stuff, but the logbook for that property, the official go-to source of information, will now be passed to the new owner. And what that serves to do, of course, if you look at the stat, I think it was talked about before Christmas, 1 in 8 buyers will instruct the agent they bought through. How scary is that? Why is that? Is it because we're not thinking about the four-dimensional client? Is it because we're not perceiving that that buyer at some point might be a vendor? Are we really hard on them, beating them with a big stick, saying you've got to do this stuff, forgetting they're a future client? So if you remember they're a future client and say, actually, do you know what? I can give you a great bit of technology. And as you own this property, you need to bear in mind that owning a property is not as straightforward as you think it is. You need to think about your buildings and contents insurance, your mortgage rate, your fixed rates, or whatever it is, your tracker rate is going to need renewing periodically. You need to keep on top of that. You know, all these sorts of things you've got to keep on top of. But if you're a landlord, gosh, even worse, tenancy inspections, gas safety checks, electrical compliance, all this stuff needs to be reminded. And the logbook can do that for you. So give a new buyer this lovely environment to them to populate and say, this is my stuff, and put it all in there. They're going to see your brand. Who doesn't think about getting buyer's remorse when you buy something expensive? God, I go and buy a radio and go, Christ, and I go online and go, could I got it cheaper? But same with property. You buy a property and immediately you're going, did I do the right thing? I love the property, but value, because we're British. We've joined the queue, we're eating our fish and chips, and we're worried about property prices. Their logbook is keeping them up to date with prices, market trends, what it's done since they've owned there. And of course, every time they log in, which brand do they see? The lovely estate agent that sold them their property. Who are they more likely to go back to? The lovely estate agent that's delivered this great bit of technology to them that's enabled them to keep up to date with property transactions and organise their property asset. And at the point at which they're coming to sell, it's a fantastic way of engaging with the agent and the conveyancer and any other associated party that needs to know stuff about their property.
Awesome. Does it look like a website to the user? Is that how you'd access it?
Yeah, I mean, there was discussion about doing an app. And the consensus was no, kind of apps are dead, and not only really expensive, but you know, if you can get online and you get online with your iPad or your phone or your PC or whatever, then you can get access to it. It's a secure online environment that, yes, for all intents and purposes, behaves like a website. But importantly, it is entirely your domain. It's entirely your website, and everything in there is yours. And all the stuff that's personal to you, no one else gets to see, unless you physically say, I want to share this information with someone else. So people can really ram it full with whatever they want. All the photographs of the property in their gardens and the work they've done on it, and you know, the roof was off the house, let's put the picture of that in the logbook. Have a real nice place to go to. Everything about their home is in there. And of course, when they go to sell the property and transact it, they keep all the personal stuff, and all the other stuff that's really property specific, all those compliance certificates, goes to the new owner. So yes, it does behave a bit like a website, but we think it's quite a sexy little environment. It's quite engaging, doesn't come with a manual, very, very intuitive, I think, to use. So yeah, perhaps I'll send you a link and you can claim your own. Have a
Yeah,
play.
yeah. Well, I'm in Spain, so you
I know you're in
probably haven't
Spain.
got one.
Actually, no. You have to.
Probably haven't.
No, sorry.
The
Probably
house
not.
only got made legal about 3 years ago, so let alone fencer certificates or hetas.
No, no. So effectively, we've got a digital twin of what 28.5, 29 million properties in the UK that are there to be claimed. So what we're doing is we're saying to agents, look, as part of your marketing exercise, but if the stat is 60% brand awareness, 40% reactive marketing, and the reactive marketing becomes really powerful when you've done your brand awareness stuff. So if you use the logbook environment and that sort of catnip data that people find really interesting as part of your marketing, that has a reason why someone might want to claim it, that has really good functionality in there, that enables them to actually learn about their property and understand the things they need to do as property owners, that you've delivered that passively. This is a self-serve environment. Clients come along, they go to your branded page, they claim a logbook, they get a nice video from you, welcome into their environment, they answer a bit of AI that populates the logbook, and suddenly it's their place. And then every month they'll get a mailing from us to say, do you know what the market's done? This is the price change we've seen. Log into your logbook and find out all the information. We've got over a 40% engagement rate with those monthly mailings. Now that's quite a healthy thing to do, and the agents don't have to do it at all. It doesn't add to their, what's the word, tab fatigue, I think is the phrase at the moment. All these tabs open because it's a passive thing. It just happens for them. Now, okay, they have a dashboard that they can delve into. They have lots of data that they can mine into. They can become an expert on a property instantly by creating a logbook or having a logbook created. They've got access to what the market's done, what the values might be of that property, what the comparables are, all this sort of stuff. But they don't have to. It can just grow and be part of their brand awareness exercise, and have homeowners genuinely say, yeah, I'll have one of those, I'm interested, why not? And get you in touch with clients, prospective clients, homeowners that may not even be thinking of selling now, but they all know someone that might do. And if you're delivering something that is meaningful, then you're probably going to get a recommendation out of it, but you're certainly going to get a call from that homeowner when they say, what do we do next? And of course, built into the logbook is a client inception platform. Next steps with us as an agent. Someone logs into I really want to think about selling. What are the next steps with you as an agent? Suddenly there's this whole client engagement platform. Get a valuation, sort out your ID, fill out your BASB forms, your legal protocol forms, whatever it may be, to really get them engaged with you as a business. So yeah, lots of sexy stuff.
Very, very great. I think it's so nice that there's more and more people talking about this attraction marketing constantly. I've been banging my head against a brick wall within my digital media agency, providing social media for estate agents because they're so desperate for that quick fix. They want that immediate result, and that's not how proper marketing done right works. It's all about that brand awareness and that nurturing, like you said earlier. I think there's such a move in the industry towards that, providing value, being seen as the good guys, and all of these sorts of techniques, and the ones that I train and support people to do and provide people with in my digital media agency. I think the whole thing just becomes a much more heart-led feeling of, actually, we're here to help, we're doing these things because you'll find them interesting or because it might be useful for you. I think that ties in really beautifully.
Well,
so is it go on.
I was going to say we're desperate to have the industry's perception changed, because I was in an agency and people say, oh, you're salesy, and I used to be embarrassed about saying I was a estate agent, but actually because I'd not actually met or been on the other side that often and had bad agency experiences, I kind of didn't know where the industry was. And when I was a property consultant for another business and trying to manage portfolios of stock and dealing with agents, I was horrified, genuinely horrified. And fees, Simon touches on this brilliantly, or maybe in Sam Hunter sort of closing up, but saying about, fees, and that agent that drops their fees. If they drop their fee, they're chasing transaction volume. They're not delivering quality. They're not delivering care. And at the point at which the client really needs them, sale agreed or between exchange and completion, the client actually wants the estate agent, they're off chasing the next transaction. They have no time for that client whatsoever. And I'm desperate for agents to be able to deliver a really broad end-to-end service that actually gives that client a hug and gives them a reason to want to come back to you because you are the expert that actually genuinely delivered quite a pleasurable experience, that was interested in the end-to-end journey. And if we could overcome the them and us, and I mean that between estate agent and conveyancer, and we work in the middle as a supplier. We work with conveyancers, we work with estate agents, and I've said on more than one occasion I'd love to just bang their heads together on occasion, because you're all trying to travel in the same direction, and yet you're spending so much time mud flinging and insult flinging. But if everyone got a bit more involved about the bit that they don't otherwise engage with, and although no agent's ever told me this, probably my business partner will tell me to shut up now and don't say another word, but I'm going to. He's not here. He's 40 minutes away. He's probably already in the car. But agents are really... I've completely lost my thread. They are really... I forgot what I was going to say. God, I'm so worried about what Mike's thinking.
Oh, Mike.
Oh, Mike's ruined it for me.
Oh, Mike.
Probably right. Oh, yes.
Banging heads together.
There you go. Banging heads together. So... an estate agent, really, really good. And you look at their social media and their posts and they're banging their chest. The other agents had this on for 6 months and we sold it within 2 days. And we had 4 buyers for it over the asking price. All the stuff that no one's really that interested in, apart from, okay, maybe themselves. And then, of course, all that means is that they've got a sold subject to contract board up, right? The hard bit, actually, is starting now. But there you go, we did a fantastic job. If anything goes wrong now, it's not our fault, right? It's the conveyancer's fault. And they kind of don't want to get involved with that bit because they don't want their brand to be tarnished if it goes wrong. But if they were more involved with that bit and understood it and prepped clients really well and set expectation and timescale and understanding, maybe didn't book a sale until they had actually genuinely financially qualified a buyer, maybe didn't take them out viewing until they'd done that, maybe didn't book a sale until the entire chain was complete. Really? Things might be a lot smoother, but that whole them and us thing sort of prevents them from getting involved with it for that fear of it may go wrong. Well, perhaps the industry needs to take some steps to get involved so that things don't go wrong. Maybe.
Definitely. When I was a baby estate agent, I went on some training and we explained how we put offers forward and how we've got proof of funds and we've spoken to mortgage advisors and things like this. And a really experienced agent said, well, I think that's incredibly invasive of you. And I was like, right, well, what's your fall through rate and what's mine? And what's my customer satisfaction level and what's yours? Because if you're setting up sales that are going to fall through, whose time are you really wasting? Like you said earlier, it's that chasing the transaction instead of thinking about here and engaging your brain. How do people feel about this? How can we make them feel better? How can we make sure everything's smoothed out? I think that's a really, really good point.
It is a difficult thing, and I do empathise, but we seem to be, or the industry seems to have fallen into its own problem of chasing transactions, it being about transactions and being goal hangers. That glory of, well, we want to hang by the goal and head them in. All this. I'm not a football fan, but I was watching football the other day and I saw someone get sent off and I saw the hole in that pitch being absolutely abused by the competition. And I suddenly thought, if a team of football players was your marketing strategy and you're genuinely missing certain component parts, you're absolutely open for abuse. And if you're all hanging by the goal, who's in midfield or who's back in defence passing balls up the field? Nobody. So, that whole thing of what's the most expensive thing to get in the diary? Oh, it's a valuation appointment. Why is that? I'll tell you why it is, because every time you want one, you start from scratch. And that return on investment activity is really hard because you're going out saying, are you thinking of selling? 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 And getting so many no's. But of course, a leaflet drop, it takes time out of the office. It takes half a tree. It takes printing all the rest of it. It's a really expensive resource. If you imagine that 99% of that is going in the recycle bin.
At least, yeah.
What? Absolutely. Why would you do that? Why not provide a nurture type tool that engages your market passively day in, day out, 365 days a year, that they use consistently, so at the point at which they think about selling, they're calling you. You don't have to find them. They go, You're the agent of choice. You're the market leader. You're the person that's been engaged with me for the last 3 years. Why would I call anybody else? So, it's got to change. Marketing is really expensive. So many different ideas that are all based about the transaction, and it's great. If I had a product that I could sell to an agent that made them deliver more transactions, they'd bite my arm off. We don't have that. We have a product that is about nurturing and building up brand and enabling them to be perceived to be the go-to agent over time. But of course, it doesn't exclude it from being a great product for their transactions. It does that bit as well. But it's that real mindset change that it's going to take a bit of time. But there's a bit of me that just goes, right, a lot of agents have still got some pretty big pipelines. And they're sat there looking at those pipelines going, it's fine. We'll still keep putting stuff in the top end, won't we? And they've almost got artificially big pipelines because things have taken a bit longer to go through. So they're almost sat a little bit more comfortably than they otherwise should be at this time of year. Normally, you'd have had a massive blowout before Christmas, had a massive party and then gone, right, here we go, let's build the pipeline up. But they've all got pipelines. So they haven't had to really think about doing anything differently because it all feels quite normal. We're back into a normal market, aren't we? It's all very normal. And I'm saying it really isn't. You've got a false pipeline at the moment. You don't know what's in there that's still likely to fall through. But importantly, where is your market now? Where is it coming from? How are you going to engage with people? You could persist in just doing the reactionary marketing, exhausting, or you could think about broadening your marketing efforts to cover all bases and actually field a full team of players when it comes to your marketing activities to cover all bases. That's what I would be doing. Don't keep an eye off the here and now, but for goodness sake, please think about the longer term nurturing activities, because that's the bit that's going to pay off. That's the bit that's going to make your reactionary marketing so much more effective.
Absolutely, because you've already built your name, you've already got that value out there. So actually, when someone does see a reactionary marketing leaflet, they don't immediately throw it in the bin because they know it's you and they've got a relationship with you in some way, shape, or form previously. I think that's a really similar thing to what we do within the social media.
Good.
Utilizing all those platforms as well, and then to have something in your house which is actually a logbook of use. We used to provide really similar actually, but it was an analog form, not a digital one. And I think the digital one is more modern. Really good idea for today's people, isn't it?
Totally. It's not. I mean, it's not for everybody. We get agents go, I'm not in the market for that. All of our clients again. When you say to that negotiator that you haven't trained properly and say I need some mortgage leads, and they're already thinking about all the reasons why someone's going to say no to them, and who likes hearing no's? You don't like to do it, but because it hasn't been explained to them the value of the fact that you're not asking for something from them, you're actually trying to deliver a solution that they're actually going to find valuable, but they just don't know it yet. So, but you all have these, they'll say no. And again, with logbooks, everyone goes, how many times has someone said to me, oh, it's just a hip light? I go, no, it's not. It's not a hip light. It's not transactional. It's nothing to do with hips. It's got long-term life shelf, on with someone, and it's got your brand in it, and it's about delivering really interesting stuff about property that people are passionate about. It's not transactional, but of course, agents immediately relate whatever you try and put in front of them as, okay, well, how does this help me knock in the goal? Is this immediate? And I'm going, kind of, but not really. It's 30% that, but it's 60%. Oh, it's 40% that, but it's 60% something else. And it's kind of at what point are agents going to realise that 60% of activity is actually really valuable, really valuable, and who knows? But
soon, hopefully for both of us.
Oh, God,
we've had it here. I mean, we opened officially on the 1st of February last year. We had been tinkering before, but we officially opened the office here last year. During that time, we spent 12 months consistently posting valuable content. And this month, February, we had people coming to us saying, I've been watching your content for months. Sell my house for me. Not, will you come and value my house? Not, I want you to be one of the three. Just come sell my house. I already know who you are. I already know you're honest. You're open, your integrity levels are high, all of those things. We're just the agent of choice. And having something like the logbook tied into that It's like an extra free gift of value and loveliness. I like it. I really like
It is an absolute. It is a gift. That's what we're trying to say to agents and the agents we work with. They say, look, this is the one thing that you can just give to people with a hug and go, have it. Just have it. It's really nice to have. Just have one. Every previous client, have one of these. It's useful. Every landlord, have one of these. It's useful. Every only landlord, have one of these. It's useful. And every buyer, have one. Everyone that's in your area, come and claim one. It's really interesting. Just come and have a look at it and see what it's like. See what difference it would make to your work. Just have one. No strings attached. Not a marketing ploy to say there's no stick over here going, oh, now we want a valuation. How many people are terrified? Why do so many people go to Rightmove and all the portals to look at property and ask and try and work out what's going on in the market? I'll tell you why. It's probably because they are terrified of engaging with an agent for fear of getting on that list and then suddenly being persistently hounded for the here and now. We want you to sell your property. Not interested in that. Actually, I just want some advice. I just kind of wanted to. I was remortgaging the house, or I was thinking about doing a new buildings and contents insurance. I wanted to know what our rebuild values were. We kind of wanted to know. But there's that fear of going to your local agent and having just a conversation because of that. Well, you're going to start selling to me, and I think that was the thing that I noticed in agency when I wasn't in agency, because we befriended everybody. Come in for coffee kind of friends. Just, we'd remember everybody. When I was in 1994, I watched a training video with General Accident Property Services, and it was called Remember Me. Did you ever see that? Probably didn't see that. It was a GA Property Services thing. And it was about the power of actually remembering people and how precious your clients felt when you remembered them. It would be a silly thing. I'm great with faces. I can put faces to addresses, no problem at all. So if anyone's walking up our high street and looking in our window, I'd go, right, that's the Joneses of Warwick Gardens. And someone else go, oh, I sold them. I go, right, Ian, go out and just have a word with them and just have a chat. How's it going? How's the cat? How's the kids? Whatever it is. And obviously we'd have copious notes on all of our clients and buyers and everybody ever touched. And we just befriended people. And the power that gave us was, we were better than the other agents because we befriended people, but the basics of what we did were identical to everybody else, apart from the fact that we gave everyone a bit of a hug. So anyone thought about selling, they'd go, oh, I'll call Dan, I'll call Ian, I'll call Mark, I'll call
and why is that?
Whatever.
Because people don't remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel, and we all know that, but we fail to actually act upon it. Yeah. I was speaking to Michelle Gallagher on the phone earlier today, and she was speaking to an old client of hers, Norman, and she said, is that Norman of wherever he lives? How's your train set? And he was absolutely gobsmacked because he's obviously a toy train enthusiast. That's not the right phrase. Apologies to all of you who like them. I'm using the wrong words. And he was absolutely blown away. And he said, like, goodness knows how old he is. He was so touched that she remembered the genuine passion that he had for his train set. I completely agree with you.
People love to be remembered.
Being a heart-led agent. I
think that's people love being remembered. It's the way forward. And I think that there are agents out there that are genuinely passionate about what they do. They appreciate that, they love property, they love people, they love giving a bit of themselves, they love creating that aura and that experience of, isn't this a thrilling thing to be doing? And that glory they give out when they're just viewing someone's property and telling how lovely their home is, but genuinely not just finding it and going, but genuinely having a passion about property, and then carrying that right the way through to almost giving them a hug at the end and saying, no, sorry to see you leave the town, or even if you're staying in the town, saying, of course, next time we're going to come back to us. Like, yeah, absolutely, of course he would. Why would we go anybody else? It's been a great experience. But we need that passion and that actual selflessness of giving. And when I started an agency, I was a neg, and being a negotiator was about being selfish to a degree. It was dog eat dog. It was, this is my sale, and it was all the rest of it.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
And then you wanted to be a manager, and the switch from being a neg to a manager, management suddenly was selfless. Of course, you wanted to enable people to do things. It was all about giving your team stuff and all the rest of it. And it wasn't until then I became a manager that I started to go, oh, hold on a minute. Yes, you can have a bit of a selfish attitude as a neg, but actually we are still a team. If our brand is affected in any way whatsoever, we all lose. So it may not be your client that walks through the door, but if Ian's not here, for goodness sake, just step in and get on with it and be a team player and do that thing and don't expect to be rewarded for it, apart from the fact that our brand will be recognised and that love and joy and that commitment to delivering service will be there and people will remember that. So, do that. And yes, be selfish. Yes, it's your pipeline. Yes, it's your sale. But at the time when it really matters, you've got to give. So anyway.
I completely agree with you.
Okay.
Marvelous. Okay, so how do people find out more about these logbooks in case they're interested in joining the heart-led estate agency movement and giving presents to their lovely clients?
psdlogbooks.co.uk is a pretty good place to start. We've got some little videos on there to give you a bit of an insight into what they're about. We've got a couple of LinkedIn pages, PSD Logbooks. If you search PSD Logbooks on LinkedIn, you'll find our page and our chat page as well. So yes, that's probably a good place to start. Have a look at the website. We've got a downloadable PDF brochure that I share with you, Elle. So that's a good place to start. Pick up the phone, speak to us. Have a demo on Zoom.
How old-fashioned of you. Pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone. Or you can email us, of course. But, we'll probably have a meeting like this and I'll share my screen and sort of have a walk through. But initially, we kind of want to have that conversation about what people's marketing efforts look like at the moment and how that could morph to include something like a digital logbook. Not because it's going to fix the here and now, it does that, but because it's building in that nurturing activity and that kind of stuff. So yeah, psdlogbooks.co.uk, start there, pick up the phone, email us, arrange a Zoom meeting, whatever, and we can tell you all about it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for recording the Zoom after Facebook Live let us down. Hopefully next week we will get that sorted and be able to go live Wednesday at 1 with Wood. Thank you very much, Mr. Hamilton-Charlton.
Thanks, Elle. Speak soon.